I'm Dave Isbell. I am the Alumni Career Service Coordinator here at Michigan State University. And this is Lisa Parker. She is the Director of Alumni and Career and Business Services. I think that's your whole title.
I think so. We'll go with it.
Yeah, so anyways, we are here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And we actually had a question. So today we have with us on the other side of the camera our assistant Colleen. And she had a question for us. So I'm just going to let her ask and we'll just see what we can come up with. So Colleen?
Well, I've heard from older people who are about to graduate, now that they're looking for jobs and going to interviews and everything, if they get more than one offer for a job at pretty much the same time, and they take one of those jobs, it's not working out, can they go to the other company that they turned down and talk about possible employment there? Or is that an awkward thing to do, or what's the best thing to do in that situation?
See, now isn't that just a great problem to have, Dave?
It's a great problem. I wish everybody would have that kind of problem.
Well, you know, and Michigan State graduates a lot of wonderful students, and so I fully expect this to be the dilemma of many of them, right? Multiple offers.
I wish it was that way for every single one of them.
Yeah. It's interesting how much stress we experience from the very thought of having more than one organization want us at the same time and how we have to process that. My first reaction is that this same problem happens on the corporate side too. And I've worked with a number of corporations that have maybe had their top 2 or 3 choices and they ended up going with a choice and that first choice didn't work out. And you would have thought that the natural plan at that point would be to contact maybe the second and third option to see if they were still interested, and they hesitate to do so because they're concerned that maybe that person won't be happy to hear from them or might think that it was rude, that essentially they're coming back around and saying, we know you were our second choice, but guess what, we want you now. So it's interesting to find that both students and companies find themselves in this same predicament of how to move forward if their first choice doesn't necessarily work out. What are some of your thoughts for Colleen's question?
Well, I mean, first I want to address that this can happen at any age, especially if you're being sought after. I mean, if someone is trying to recruit you, it's likely you could have 5 companies that are looking at you. And so, I mean, it could happen at any stage of your career. But I think I always stress kind of the relationship factor. If you did a good job of building the relationship in both interviews, and you kind of leave the door open, so if let's say you decline company A, but you accept company B, you go to company B and say, this isn't what it works out. You want to go back to company A. So if you decline company A's kind of in a respectful manner, kind of saying something like, this is a really hard decision for me. I really, really like what you have to offer. I know this would be a good fit, but I had this other thing that I really felt like I had to accept. You kind of leave the door open. It's respectful. So then if you come back, I don't know, 2 weeks later or something, and you say, hey, I was at company B. It really wasn't what I expected. Is there any way that we might be able to talk about an opportunity with you again? You're just kind of opening up the door again. Now, they have the right to say no, and yes, it's going to feel awkward, maybe even on both sides. But if you keep the relationship open, I mean, you never know what's going to happen 3 years from now.
Well, and I would even take that to a little bit more aggressive level. When we're at that stage of the game, you're right, it is about the relationships. And if we can make sure that we have an effective two-way exchange of information throughout the entire process, it makes it easier when these types of things happen. Like, so for example, I'm declining my job offer from you, Dave, and instead of just saying, oh, no, thanks, I got something from another organization, but thank you so much for your time and consideration. As you stated before, to really sell your interest in the organization, sell your appreciation, but also add, I still feel an affinity for your organization. I like a lot of things that you're doing. This is more of a not right now answer than a not ever. Is it possible for me to reach out to you in the future, whether it be a year from now or 10 years from now, if something's happening on my end, or I notice something happening on your end where I see an opportunity for alignment again? You could also offer in the time where you're declining an opportunity with an organization to refer them to other talent, refer other talent to them, because it shows that you truly you're being sincere about how you view their company and your interest. And on the flip side, I would say, if you find yourself being that number 2 candidate, maybe you thought you were going to get a job and a company says, we're going with another person, we really appreciated you, kind of the same parting of ways that job seekers say when they're declining an offer, is to say back to that company, I want you to know that I still see potential for alignment between myself and your company. And I want you to understand that should something happen with this particular individual that you're selecting, or should another opportunity open up, I definitely want to hear from you. Even if it's a week from now, a year from now, or 10 years from now, let's chat. Because we have synergy here. Because you want to definitely have that invitation out on both ends for the conversation to continue. That this isn't a one-time transaction, and if we don't go anywhere, we never talk to each other again.
Yeah.
Type of situation.
Well, I like the word you just used, transaction. So there's a difference between taking a relational approach or a transactional approach.
Yeah.
So if you move away from being kind of a commodity, okay, they need to fill this seat in their organization, and you instead build a relationship with them, then there's a mutual affinity. So you're looking for, at every stage of the way, what you have in common. And I like what you just said about you're solving a problem for them. So now they have a problem, they offered you this thing, and they're like, oh man, I gotta go offer it to someone else. You're offering to solve them a problem at that time by saying, hey, I've got a friend, I know somebody, let me help you with this.
Which they may or may not take you up on.
They may not.
But the offer is there.
Right.
And the other thing that I would say when you're talking about building these effective relationships, anytime you have to reject somebody for something, the best way to show them that they matter to you is to offer some sense of why. And it can't be trite. I mean, then that's what's hard for people to do, because we feel apologetic. We feel apologetic for being in demand. We feel apologetic. Somebody else wants us, and we're not. This isn't really quite the fit. If it's money, talk to them about the money. It doesn't have to be crass. I'm weighing these opportunities, and I see a cultural fit, a skills fit, responsibility fit with your organization. But I have to be honest and communicate to you that economically, we're off by about $5,000. Maybe they'll close that gap for you. If they won't close that gap for you, then you can reply back and say, I understand that you don't feel like you can give me that now. So my goal is to go out and build some experience in the professional world or in this other avenue. Hope that it's okay for me to come back to you in a year's time, in 5 years' time, where it would be easier for you to justify a higher compensation rate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The trick is, how are they going to remember a year from now? Because they probably burned through 30 candidates in an interview. So the trick with the relationship is to maintain the relationship. So now it's a matter of sending a thank you note. It's a matter of, a month goes by and shooting them an email. It's a matter of kind of keeping the pipeline open. It could be something as simple as sending an article that you just read that might pertain to them and say, hey, I thought of you, I thought I'd give you this, it's
inviting them to something.
Yeah, inviting them to a function, maybe even at the company that you accepted at, being collaborative with them. It's going out to lunch with some of the people that work there. And this is, this is key. This is how you manage your network. And if you look at the interview and the situation of being able to get in front of an employer in the first place, it's all about kind of building the relationship with the people that are inside that company.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing that happens is those people inside that company often move to other companies.
Yes.
So now you've built relationships with a whole new company that you didn't even intend in the first place.
And that's where connecting with somebody on LinkedIn could be helpful too.
Right.
Because if they do move, or if you're worried about them perhaps forgetting about you through the course of time, you still have this amazing connection tool. You just have to handle it in a way that it's not weird.
Right.
I may not want to connect with you on LinkedIn as you're entering the candidate process with me.
Sure.
That might be a bit of an invasion.
Mhm.
But if we can turn the process, maybe we're not going to be establishing this employee-employer relationship at this moment, but we set the tone that we're definitely moving forward with a networking relationship,
Mhm.
then I might be more comfortable about making things more permanent
Well,
on LinkedIn.
And it's often the time that the HR person isn't the one to connect with. Because really their role is to be the gatekeeper.
Right.
And they could have some kind of maybe ethical concerns even about being connected with you in that way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of working through them to kind of, and if you did your homework on the company beforehand, you're going to know a couple other people other than the HR person.
Mhm.
But it's kind of working kind of through them to kind of get connected to other people inside the company to build a relationship with that company. So that as the opportunity comes up maybe later down the road, the HR person maybe remembers interviewing you and that you declined, but then someone on the inside is referring you to the HR person again. They're going, maybe I should rethink this person. So you don't know what could happen in these scenarios.
Well, and I think any candidate, any job seeker, or any company that finds itself with multiple options that are great options for them, or nearly great options for them, should just try to shed themselves of this stress or feeling bad about it. That's a good thing. That means you're doing things right. That means you put yourself out in front of the right companies. That means you've developed the right skills. If you're a job seeker, if you're a company, that means you've built a great reputation. You've drawn the right talent to you that you want to draw. Maybe you can't use them all right now. Maybe you can. Maybe you can repurpose the people in a different way, or maybe the organization you were approaching could use you in a different way. But this is something to celebrate. This certainly isn't something to feel bad about and apologetic for.
Well, and it's also a different thing that happens to a lot of job seekers, because most of the time in the job seeker, you are not the one with the power.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, you're actually empowered. You're in a very powerful situation to actually negotiate.
Yep.
And that's a scary thing to do.
But it's a natural part of business.
Yeah, and every person in business does this.
Yes.
And so if you are just taking this as, instead of being kind of apologetic, instead of kind of coming at it confident and saying like what you're talking about in terms of here's why I'm declining.
Yeah.
And kind of just being upfront, authentic with them, it can open up that door for the relationship. It can create some opportunity to negotiate on something that might be a better fit for you.
And the real way to show authenticity is to, when you say you're going to do something, like when I'm rejecting you, Dave, and I say, but let's keep in touch, or I really intend to keep you part of my networking circle, or is to follow through on that.
Right.
Because most of the times when you're telling somebody that, they really don't expect to hear from you, they don't expect that it's going to go any further. But when you, a month from now, say, you know what, you might want to come back, my student group on campus that I used to be connected with is having this event, and it would be a great way for you to find future Spartans who are about ready to graduate. I'm going to remember you for that.
That's amazing, because you separate yourself out from the pack automatically.
And you can do that no matter how connected you feel you are. You always know somebody that somebody else would want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, good.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Hey, we did our job.
Great. All right. Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, Dave and Lisa.